got someone coming all the way from Spain. I appreciate that. So we are going to talk to Howard in Spain. Didn't give pronouns, but wants to know, why do atheists ignore all of the evidence of intelligence design that is observable throughout nature?
Hey, Jimmy. Hi, Sydney. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling.
I suppose you've heard of phi, what's known as the golden ratio. It's 1.618. It's an infinite number that's known also as the golden spiral or the golden rectangle or the golden triangle. The phi is called the golden ratio because it's the perfect ratio of construction and distribution. So when we look at like a pineapple or a pine cone and we see this mathematic proof in nature, not just in number, we also see that the seeds, when they're distributed, like when they're spat out, or better said, when leaves grow, they grow in the golden ratio because it's the perfect rate of construction and distribution. In other words, it's the most effective, it's the most efficient to catch sunlight and the most efficient to not kind of grow into each other. It maximizes on space, if I'm explaining myself right. So my question is, well, I've got two parts, and then maybe you'll get my whole point that I think is different than what other people have argued before. My 2 points are, if we all acknowledge that phi is not just a mathematical proof, but also something we see in nature, that's the perfect rate of construction, it's the most effective and efficient, then wouldn't that mean, part one, wouldn't that mean that evolution cannot progress, it cannot improve? And number two, as we see it in all of the fossils throughout the world, throughout all history, we can also see the golden ratio. So that suggests that there's not been any change or evolution in the past, nor would it be logical or beneficial for us to evolve or mutate in the future, because it's the perfect rate of construction. We don't see perfection in nature. There's only perfection in mathematics. But that could be argued with the Adam and Eve story, that because of sin, everything's devolving, not evolving. So that could be why. But my main argument is, you would expect to see some things in nature without the golden ratio of construction, and we definitely expect to see fossils without the perfect rate of construction, because we'd expect things to have evolved to this stage, or at least things that hadn't survived because of the flood or whatever catalysm. You can just understand that some of nature in the past and in the present wouldn't have this golden ratio of perfect distribution and construction.
But it doesn't.
Howard,
and there's not perfection anymore.
Howard, I'd like a chance to jump in here. So I'm not a big brain in the room, and I don't really understand the idea of this ratio. I've heard of it before, and I'm not well versed on it. But I will say this: let's assume that I needed you to convince me that there was intelligent design. Even if you were able to display that there was some kind of perfect ratio taking place, some perfect mathematical formula taking place in nature, that would not demonstrate to me that there is a God responsible, right? Nature having perfect things in it is only pointing to the conclusion, right, that, well, nature has some perfect things. Nature also has very many imperfect things.
We don't see perfection in nature. There's only perfection in mathematics.
If this God were so intelligent and were able to design things so perfectly, why do we have people with so many deformities, defects?
Exactly.
But that could be argued with the Adam and Eve story, that because of sin, everything's devolving, not evolving. The thing is, Jimmy, we don't just see these patterns in nature. We also see patterns in mathematics. And we also see lots of, like in the infinite sequence of pi, as well as the infinite sequence of phi. So that suggests that if something transcends what we'd class as infinite, because we can't reach the end of the pi or the phi sequence, then if it's got evidence for intelligent design, like you said, I can't demonstrate intelligent design, but I can show evidence to support the belief in intelligent design. And I can show that this evidence maybe debunks, definitely goes against abiogenesis and evolution. So if your theories that support your beliefs are debunked, then it leaves you without any theories to support your beliefs, which makes it blind faith, with all due respect. So if you haven't got any theories to support your faith, and I do, then that makes theory.
Whoa, wait a second.
Go ahead.
Whoa, so sorry. Respectfully, Christianity's entire platform is blind faith. Literally the whole thing openly is that you should not need evidence to support your faith. So if you're going to say that blind faith is a negative thing, I need you to look in a mirror, my friend. I'm surprised you would actually call us people that are believing blind faith, because I feel like that's the brand.
Yeah, Howard, you are pointing the finger at us, saying that we're believing in something. We are not believers in anything, really. Not when it comes to faith or religion. It's not.
And then calling it blind faith, which is your whole brand. Your whole brand.
Howard, please.
Excuse me, please. You've called me a Christian. I'm not a Christian. I'm a theist. So all this stuff about the Bible, it's in the.
You quoted the Bible. You quoted the Bible.
Like you started it.
I quoted Adam and Eve, which is in the Quran, and it's in other ancient cultures as well. But before, I don't want to argue.
You quoted the flood of Noah. I mean,
I'd like to just answer. That's also in the Quran, and there's 200 myths around the world, and there's observable evidence on mountaintops, in valleys, in the coastline, and in riverbeds. But that's for another debate.
But that's not true, though.
But that isn't true.
Jimmy, can we just stick to what you said before about
you brought up a new point,
and then you told us we couldn't talk about it.
Excuse me?
You brought up a new point, and then you said, but that's for a different discussion. And we're saying, no, that's for this discussion, because you opened the floodgates, for lack of a better term.
I don't mind opening something else, but can we first just go back to what you ignored when I said that because of free will and sin, there is now problems in creation.
You didn't say anything about free will. You never talked about free will.
Evolution. We see mutations, which is observable evidence that we're devolving, not evolving, and we can also see
that's not true.
We can't see it.
Toxic behavior, people's toxic behavior, and pollution causes disease and birth defects. It's not.
You know what? Let's talk about toxic behavior. Okay. So you're a Muslim, right?
First, you called me a Christian, then you're accusing me of being a Muslim. Please
listen.
Accusing me of things.
You're quoting the Bible, and then you're quoting the Quran. Which is it? You're a theist. What point are you arguing here? Because you're jumping all over. You're giving us mathematics to point to a creationist, and then you're using Adam and Eve, and you're using the Quran, and you're using the Bible. I have no idea what point you're coming from. Sydney and I are honest enough to put it all out there.
Yeah.
Okay. We tell you exactly who we are, and you are dropping new knowledge on us every time you make a point, and then you don't want to discuss it.
And then telling us that we ignored points that were never brought up until that moment, which is just rude.
Because I was talking about it before. Oh, I get offended. I'm trying to have a conversation, but if you don't want to, it's okay.
We're here to have a conversation. It just has to be a conversation, and you have to be willing to listen instead of thinking about what your response is going to be while we're taking time out of our day to give you answers.
Howard, you're I believe Howard's gone. All right, so Howard hung up. All right, so look, Sydney, my problem there is that, Howard, if you're listening, look, I'm sorry that you hung up on us. I really am. I thought we could fix that and clean that up and get on the right path.
Right.
So feel free to call back. You can't call us believers. I mean, that doesn't work. Nope. And so I'm ready to move on here. I don't think that there's a really good explanation for the golden, what was he calling it? For phi, the golden formula or whatever it was. I've heard it before. I've heard it in other books.
And we were talking about intelligent design a minute ago. I want to know, if intelligent design is real, why was I born without eyebrows? Why do I have to draw these on every day? It's a pain in my ass.
Yeah.
You would just think that I would be born with eyebrows. I don't know.
I have got no hair.
Right.
So, was